Howdy, partner. Again, it's my pleasure to welcome you back to the second of our 5-part series on wilderness survival. My name is Lee Robertson, training officer for the Division of Utah State Wildlife Resources. And again, I'd like to remind you that our series here is designed to meet the needs of the layman in survival in the outdoors. This is not intended to be an advanced survival course, but for the average hunter, sportsman, hiker, camper, backpacker, photographer, the type of person who likes to get out here in the outdoors on occasion and would on occasion get himself lost and needs a little knowledge to take care of himself for a few days until a search party or rescue unit can get in to get you back out. Now, at the end of our first program, we were talking about the survival kit. We were talking about the items that you might have on yourself that would help you survive for, remember, that period of 7 days, a span of a whole week. That we need something other than what we might carry on our person. And we offered to you at that time several items that we would like to send to you if you would just drop us a line. That includes the little ground-to-air signal card, the suggested list for survival items, a pattern to build you a pouch to carry those items, and an article on edible plants written by the very famous Mr. Yule Gibbons. And at that time we mentioned that by writing to us, the Utah State Division of Wildlife Resources, 1596 West North Temple Street in Salt Lake City, Utah, zip code 84116, we'd be most happy to send you the items we've just mentioned to give you a chance to get started in building your survival kit of a very personal nature. Now, speaking of survival kits and of something of a very personal nature, I'm often asked by people, what type of survival kit should I buy? Well, sir, I'm afraid I've got to give you my honest opinion. I would prefer that you did not buy a kit, but that you made a kit of your own, sitting in the comfort of your living room, where you can think and reason clearly, which you cannot do in a lost or near panic situation out on the mountain. But in the comfort of your living room, just sit and think, reason out how you can put together each and every item in your survival kit. And at that time, put together not only the items we have suggested to you, but those items that you feel you could live with, the items you feel confidence in that would help you survive for those few days. Now, the reason I say build your own kit, I've never yet saw a kit that was an all-purpose kit. Let me show you. We can go all the way from what we call the 12-cent survival kit, which is nothing more than a large plastic bag that, when opened up, could be made into a raincoat, foul weather gear, and also serves to cover your body with a protective coating that keeps the body heat from escaping by merely cutting a shoulder piece into each corner, splitting it open across the top in a T form for the head to pass through. This, you see, would pass over the entire body, give yourself a very good protection against foul weather, and would also, as I say, keep the body heat from escaping. We've done a thermometer test on a plastic bag placed over the body, and in outside temperatures it was ranging down around 50 degrees. Within a minute from the time the plastic bag was placed over the body, with the thermometer stuck inside so that we could actually determine the temperature around the outside of the body under the plastic bag, the temperature immediately rose to 68 degrees. And with a little isometrics being done inside, where muscles are being played against muscle, the temperature rose to 78 degrees. Now, that's a pretty uncomfortable temperature for any length of time. And in a matter of minutes, a plastic bag and a little isometrics can increase the body temperature, or the atmosphere around the body under the plastic bag, to 78 degrees. Well, that's the 12-cent survival kit. We can go from that to something as elaborate as this. This unit is designed to be carried around the back, across the small of the back, and is made of a very bright color so that it can be seen from the air or from long distances, what we call the hunter orange or fluorescent orange. It has a waistband with a heavy strap and buckle, and is padded on the back side so that it's rather comfortable to be worn against the backbone or across the hips, so that those lumpy items inside will not wear sore spots. Now, the unit has several zipper compartments, and the inside has several elastic pockets that allow you to carry items separated one from the other to keep them from damaging. And as you can see, many other zipper pockets on the front side with chrome rings that we can attach nylon line and cord and things of the nature we want to pack on the outside. This unit, I feel, is approaching the backpacker sort of equipment. Now, we don't expect you, the layman, the average sportsman, hunter, hiker, backpacker, to go prepared with a unit so heavy that you are approaching the gimmickry or the gadgetry of the backpacker. Instead, we're talking about a very basic, simple survival kit that anybody can put together, snap on the belt, carry with you whenever you leave the car or leave camp. Now, thinking of survival kits as we feel they should be used, a survival kit should not be too bulky to be cumbersome, too heavy to be discomfortable or uncomfortable to carry. It should be small enough, light enough that you won't leave it behind and use the excuse that it's too heavy or too bulky, that you won't leave it behind whenever you leave camp. Now, that pretty much rules out something like this. However, I do feel there's a place for an elaborate survival kit such as you see here. I feel in an aircraft where you may have your person, several other passengers aboard, that you need equipment for an extended period of time for several people, perhaps on a boat or in an automobile where, again, you would have several people involved as passengers in that particular vehicle. This type of survival kit certainly has its place. Now, on the other extreme, the mountain man would many times carry what he called his possibles. This was nothing more than a knife, a couple of pocket pouches made of buckskin, and would carry with him what he would call a survival kit, I suppose. His flint and steel set, his tinder, a few spare parts for his rifle, his knife, and that might be the other extreme. The mountain man would carry just what little as he could possibly get away with and still take care of himself adequately. Now, of course, there are things in between, and this is where we feel we must be. We must find a happy medium. The little unit you see me holding in my hand at this time is called a storm kit, an all-purpose storm kit. And this particular unit has inside a plastic tube tent. The tube tent, much like a plastic bag, would allow the owner to unfurl it, crawl inside, close off either end as small as he need be to still have adequate ventilation and breathing air. It has, as a matter of contents, matches, a candle, an upright candle, sugar, salt, tea, bullion, wire for snares, a whistle to attract attention, even though you may be so near unconscious that you're hardly breathing. A whistle will still make enough noise that people can find you. A signal mirror, and as I mentioned, the plastic tube tent that gives you shelter, all in one small kit. Now, though the people who manufactured the kit did not realize that the inside chrome of the lid was very reflective and could serve as a mirror, it has that possibility. The canister has a very tight seal around the bottom, waterproof, even under heat, and could be used as a cooking container to boil water to purify it, to cook a little wildlife mulligan, which would include insects, pieces of snake, pieces of small amphibians, frogs, toads, birds, whatever a person could catch could be put into a small wildlife mulligan, and that can, cooked once or twice a day, will keep a person alive, will keep enough fuel going into the furnace to ward off hypothermia, which we're going to talk about a little later. So that makes a very practical survival kit as far as I'm concerned, and sells for $3 at many of your local sporting goods stores. And certainly anyone going into the outdoors can afford $3. Then we have a unit like this. Metal clips on the back, made of a very strong, flexible nylon case with a zipper top that allows you easy access into it. And inside the unit, we could pack any number of things. Now we're getting down to a pretty practical size. But I personally do not favor the nylon because nylon has a very limited use. Nylon instead, very strong, very durable, makes a very hard use package, but I would prefer my survival kit to be made of leather. And there again, I go back to the offer we originally made for the pattern to make a survival packet of leather. And as we mentioned in our program number 1, this is the unit that set of plans or patterns will make. Made of leather with the chrome fastenings that can be disassembled and used as bait and snare devices. Because again, small animals attracted by the sparkle and the shine of something shiny will come to it to see what it is. And you can many times attract small animals or birds into an area of your snare by just using something shiny around the snare device. Not only do we have the package made of leather, which can make Eskimo sunglass by cutting a narrow slit in it. It could be used to make a flipper pouch, could be cut into strips to tie together a stretcher, as we mentioned earlier, a splint on a broken arm or a leg, or even tie together the framework of a lean-to, which we'll be showing you a little later in one of our programs, shelter building. But on the edges of this pouch, we've specifically designed it in such a way that you tie this thing together with yards and yards of leather lacing. As we mentioned in our last program, the leather lacing around a wallet is so usable as snare line. Here we have snare line galore, yards and yards of it, which again, once it's unbraided from the leather, can be put in the mouth and chewed, chewing the saliva of the mouth into it, softening the leather, stretching the lacing out nice and straight. It makes you one of the finest, strongest snare lines available for snaring small game. On the bottom we have our chrome rings for attaching nylon line or snare line or whatever we need to carry on the outside. Now let me refer to the suggested list of survival items, and let's go through item by item those things that we feel you should carry. We've already talked about the leather carrying pouch. Inside that carrying pouch, we should base our kit on some large metal container that will fit inside. I like to base mine on a jumbo-sized Band-Aid box. This box has an easy lid to open and close, has a bottom that's very chromed that can be used as a reflector, a mirror, and around the outside we have ample room to place those things that might unravel and get everything in our kit all snarled, such as a plastic tape, electrician type tape, the adhesive tape, part of our first aid supplies, snare wire, and a snare line, a nylon snare line, green for summer, white for winter, so that it camouflages well with the background. But this metal container, again, has a tight seal around the bottom, can be used to boil and purify water or cook a wildlife mulligan. Next on our list, we show a ground-to-air signal card, and again, that small signal card will be included with every mailing we make to those who request the items we've offered, and it has listed on it those signals that would be used in any ground-type emergency to signal to the aircraft the type of help you need. Now, a lot of people say, okay, so I've got a set of the signals in my survival kit or in my wallet, but what about the guy up there in the airplane? Does he have a set of those signals? Well, you bet he has. On the back of every aeronautical map is a matching set of signals so that he understands the information you're trying to relay to him and the type of help you need. So that's an important part of your survival kit. Now, near the top of our list, we have a sewing kit listed. The sewing kit consists of several pieces of cloth, thread, needles, pins, buttons of various sizes, and you'll notice the buttons we include are the pearl-type buttons. The pearl-type button of various sizes, already concave in its shape, could be used very easily as a lure for a fishing rig, setting up a fishing line. With the needles, the pins, the thread, and the patching cloth, you've got yourself a pretty good sewing kit. And that's necessary if you're going to keep your clothing, the tears, the rips of stumbling through the brush or whatever, gathering firewood, if you're going to keep your clothing in good repair and insulate you the way the clothing was originally designed to do. First aid supplies. Boy, now here you've really got to be careful. First aid supplies, I've seen first aid kits that are larger than our whole survival kit. So here you got to be very careful, and perhaps some of the items you should include would be some gauze bandages of one sort or another, several band-aids of different sizes, and because you're going to be doing an awful lot of work around a campfire, we should use some burn ointment. A little vial of methylate or mercurochrome, and some water purification tablets to purify the water that you're going to drink in the event you're not near a fresh running stream. Next we have a fishing kit. Fishing kit could include nothing more than a small pill bottle. And in that pill bottle we've got it wrapped with nylon line and leader on the outside. Inside the pill bottle we have several sinkers, several of my favorite flies, several different sized fish hooks, a Colorado spinner, and even a couple of small brass spoons or lures. Next on our list, a knife. And here, in the event you did not carry in your pocket a pocket knife, you have then a small folding type or concealable type, any type of pocket knife where the blade can be folded back into the casing and concealed so that the sharp edge is not cutting up the equipment inside your survival kit under hard usage. Now the knife certainly needs a sharpening stone. And a small stone, nothing much larger than this, is all we really need. A very small stone, enough to keep your arrowhead, your pocket knife, your fish hooks, anything that has a sharp edge, sharp, is all you need. It need not be a large, bulky sharpening stone. Now, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I can sharpen a knife on a rock. But I've seen a lot of knives, a lot of sharp edges ruined more on a stone or on a rock than they've done much good. So carry a small sharpening stone in the kit. Next we have matches. Matches should be in a waterproof container. And the container might have on the lid a compass that can be used to help you determine your directions, follow it, to help you get back to camp or whatever. And inside, the matches may be cut a little short so that water purification tablets or medication may be carried in the bottom in the tablet form so that it too is kept waterproof and will not be contaminated or decomposed from being wet in a storm or falling in a stream. Notice too that we have a piece of sandpaper on the bottom of each of the match containers so that we can strike our matches. And we have a flint bar on the side of each match container that allows us to use our pocket knife to throw sparks, as we illustrated to you, the little metal match, throwing sparks so that we can again light a fire long after the matches are all used up. So a waterproof match container serves several purposes, as you can see. Tinder. Here we have a very special tinder. Steel wool, which we'll be demonstrating to you in our fire building demonstration, is probably the all-purpose tinder that we'd like to recommend to you. But there's a secret. Steel wool should be of the double-aught grade or finer. Now, steel wool is marked on the package by the letter O, or aught. Double-aught, or 2 aughts on the package, is the coarsest steel wool that you can use successfully to catch a spark and light. We would prefer that you use triple-aught steel wool or even 4-aught steel wool, the finest available, lights the easiest, and certainly the most successful. Steel wool, as we'll demonstrate to you in our fire building demonstration, is that tinder that will allow you to light a fire when it's soaking wet and dripping with water, and still you can build yourself a fire. but we'll save that for our fire building program. Aluminum foil. Aluminum foil of either the sandwich wrap type or the very heavy-duty aluminum foil can be used for cooking purposes, any number of cooking purposes. Wrapping it around or folding it into a small pot or canister shape allows you then to use it for cooking. Our next item on our list is snare wire, and certainly we illustrated that by showing you the snare wire wrapped around the side of the container. We're going to be showing you more uses of snare wire and how to set your snares in one of our later programs. A plastic sheet. Here, a plastic sheet 9 by 12 feet square, purchased from any department store, any paint store, hardware store, the type of very thin plastic sheet that you would buy to spread over your furniture at home when you're painting in the house, is adequate to provide you not only a cover for a shelter, a rain poncho for yourself, but also a piece of plastic to put over the top of dry firewood to keep it dry in a rainstorm. And you've got enough left, doggone it, to go out in the middle of the desert and build yourself several water stills, which again we're going to be showing you in one of our programs on desert survival. So a piece of plastic sheet 9 by 12 feet square is a very good item to carry with you. A plastic bag for carrying water back into camp in case your water supply is some distance from camp. And here's a little item that you might consider as a means of carrying water. A balloon. A balloon can be used to carry as much as 2 quarts of water, and yet when collapsed fits into the tiniest space in your survival kit. Now the balloon, to fill it, you should take a mouthful of water and blow into it the same as you'd blow air into your balloon, filling it with water and carrying it back to camp. So either a plastic bag or a balloon will carry much water back to camp for you. A candle. Now in one of our survival kits we illustrated for you the upright candle. We would prefer over and above that the flat canister candle. Here the flat canister candle protects the candle wax so that it doesn't melt and run away. It doesn't get crushed in cold weather. And wax, very strange in cold weather, will just crumble like a soda cracker. And with a little metal canister around it, it protects it so that you get every last minute of burning time from the candle that the wax will possibly provide. All right, our next item would be razor blades. And here, razor blades carried with you serve as a snare device. Now again, we'll talk about that when we're talking about snaring. Next on our list, we mentioned earlier, was water purification tablets. A magnifying glass that would provide you the ability of building a fire when other methods are not available, using the sunlight and a magnifying glass to produce enough heat in a given area to really smoke up the area, build you a fire with a good hot flame from nothing more than a magnifying glass. Again, we'll talk about that in our fire building demonstration. A leather flipper and a piece of surgical tubing and any forked stick cut from a tree will build you a good flipper. Now don't discount that as a means of getting food, because a flipper, like a bow and arrow or a handgun or a rifle, each of us has the instinctive ability to point. And with that instinctive ability, a flipper becomes very, very effective to get you small game and birds as something to eat. We mentioned the compass, and of course with the compass we need a good map. A map of the area you're going into. This should be placed on the very top, right on the very top of your survival kit, because as you change from one area to another in your activities, that is the item you'll need to change more often in your survival kit. A mirror, we've already mentioned. Flare, magnesium strip, can be purchased in many chemical supply houses. Little tiny foil strip, as you can see, that once touched to the head of a match while the match is being lit, will burn with the brightness of an arc welding torch. And if you look directly at it, you can actually burn your eyes. So please be careful when using magnesium strip as a flare. You cut off only about an 8 or 10 inch piece, light that amount, which will burn for several seconds, near 2 to 3 minutes, and give you ample time for overpassing aircraft to see your signal, but don't look at it. Heat tablets. Heat tablets can be used to help you build a fire, and with the little stove, the little GI surplus stove, purchased in War Surplus outlet, you have the ability of putting your small canister or cooking container on the small stove and cooking even without the use of an open fire. Bouillon cubes or energy tablets are the only food supply we suggest you take with you, because we feel there is so much food provided by nature that once you learn to use it, you won't need anything more than this, which is just a temporary device, really, that allows you then to supplement your diet or just give you something in the stomach temporarily to give you a chance to get out and forage and range for yourself and bring in those food items which you feel are necessary. A whistle, a police-type whistle, can be heard for long distances, and certainly something that you can make a noise with if you've just got enough life left to breathe. So a police-type whistle. But let me caution you, buy that whistle that's made of plastic, not metal, because on a very cold day, you're to put that in the mouth, you're going to wear it a while because the moisture on the lips will freeze to the metal whistle. Now, as you can see, we've covered only just a small part of the items in a survival kit. Many of these are very, very self-explanatory, such as the little booklets on survival, edible plants, the type of thing we talked about in our last program. And so, again, we would like to suggest to you, send for the list for survival items, the kit and the related items that we'd like to send you. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll get into fire building in our next program. Adios.